The most interesting dichotomy in all of Magic the Gathering is the collectability aspect. It's the reason why this card right here can go from $30 to $120, even at heavily played. And that's the reason we have such a hard time getting new players into Magic when the most fun cards are so expensive. What if I told you this same card can be bought for $30, so a quarter of the price? Today we're going to go over the best deals in all of Magic the Gathering. But before I go over that, I'm the Patchwork Commander. I make weekly videos, and I'm sorry I haven't posted enough, and I'm going to make up for it 2 videos this week, so watch out for those, and let's get right into the best deals that we have coming to this day in Magic. What a lot of new and enfranchised players don't actually understand about Magic the Gathering is reserve list cards, a lot of them, they actually had other printings. And they're called World Champion Series decks, and they're gold border copies of original cards. And the nice part about these is they were printed for brand new players at the time, so they could play the most powerful decks at that time. However, these cards are not actually tournament legal. But the reason why I think they're the best deal in all of Magic the Gathering is you can get this version of Metalworker and Gold Border, and it has a signature from the player that played it. For example, like this Birds of Paradise. But the nice part is you don't have to pay the $120 price tag that a Metalworker comes with. And the reason for that is they're not tournament legal. But in EDH, this is a casual format. And I suggest if you actually want real Magic the Gathering cards for a fraction of the price, this is the way to go. And let me tell you, these cards that I have on my list are some of the best deals that I could find for all these World Championship decks, so you can throw them into your next EDH deck. And when starting this list, we have to go with the most expensive card, and that's Gaia's Cradle, one of the most expensive lands ever, except for like an Alpha Dual land, and that can be like $730 for a damaged copy, and for a near mint copy, it can be over $1,000. Well, let me tell you, with these World Championship decks, the most it's going to cost you for a near mint copy is $150, literally a seventh of the price. And this land is one of the best lands ever, if not the best. And it just taps for 1 mana for each creature you control. So this land will easily net you 4 or plus mana. And please, if you have an elf deck, throw this one in there and you'll be so much happier that you got this copy, because it's literally a seventh of the price of an original one. Now, the next card on here is the second most expensive card, and that's Grim Monolith. But I think this is the best deal we can possibly find for around $260 for a damaged copy. Now, if you want one of these World Championship decks, all of a sudden, it gets a seventh of the price, and it's $33 for a heavily played copy, which is already better than damaged, but only goes for around $40 for a near mint copy. And this is one of the best fast mana options you can ever find in EDH, and a favorite for my Duretti deck. Now the next card is the best tutor, because you could tutor up so many cards, and you can keep doing it by discarding a card. It's survival of the fittest, costing only 2 mana, a green, and a colorless. And this enchantment says we get to discard a card at instant speed whenever we want to search for any creature and put it into our hand. The best card ever to find your Craterhoof Behemoth every single time, because you're running green. And this costs $220 for a damaged copy. A damaged copy costs $220. Guess how much it costs for a World Championship moderately played version? $34. 1/6 the price. I'm telling you guys, please pick these cards up. These are the most powerful cards in all of Magic. And the next card I have to throw up there is gotta be Yawgmoth's Will, costing only 3 mana initially, but we get to play every single card out of our graveyard. And there's a reason why this is $220 for a heavily played copy. And this card just lets us play all the cards out of our graveyard, and there's a reason why I tell everyone to play Underworld Breach. But if you want something that's a third of the price, the World Championship version has the same art as the original reserve list card, and you can get it for $70. Heavily played, same condition, same card, and it just doesn't have the Magic the Gathering back. Now, the next card is the card that I was talking about in the intro of this video, and that's Metalworker. Now, I bought my copy for $34, and that's how much the World Championship decks cost nowadays. But the reserve list copy, $120 for a heavily played. Now this goes great in my, like I said, my Duretti deck. This is my favorite artifact deck that I have, just because I get to cheat in some of the best and most disgusting and broken and stacksy artifact cards in all of Magic the Gathering. And I suggest you try out Metalworker if you have an artifact deck yourself. And especially if you have Duretti, I can tell you from personal experience, it's just one of the best cards ever printed. And these next two cards that I'm going to talk about are some of the best values for money, even if they don't carry the same price tags as the cards that I'm talking about, with Metalworker being $120 and other cards being a lot more money. These are so much value for their money because they can be thrown into so many decks, and if you can get them for a cheaper price, it just means you get to throw them into more and more decks. And the reason why some of the most competitive EDH decks are so expensive are the land bases. These dual lands and so on are so much money, and when every land costs you about $25, if not more expensive, other than basic lands, it's tough to deal with that price range. And these lands are both $25 initially, but these World Championship decks make them $4 or $8. So that means you can throw them into just about any deck, and they're cheaper than most of the lands that come out nowadays. And it starts off with Wasteland, and the reason why this card is so expensive, it sees a lot of competitive play. But the nice part is, you're not worried about that. You're playing this for EDH, and it's a casual format, so who's gonna care? You have an actual version of Wasteland, and normally it would be $26 heavily played. But guess what? In the World Championship decks, you can get it for $4. Now that comes with shipping, but still, that's 1/7 the price. Literally 1/7 the price, and now you can throw this deck, and it's perfect for any landfall deck, because all of a sudden you can make multiple land drops in a turn, and if you get a card like Crucible of Worlds, they can put a land from your graveyard into play, all of a sudden you can destroy everyone's mana bases. So it's one of the most taxing and annoying, but also coolest things you can play in all of Magic the Gathering. And the last and final card is gotta be Reflecting Pool, costing $25. Yes, it's not the same price tag as these other cards, but I honestly think this is one of the best deals in all of Magic the Gathering, because if you have a 3-color deck, if you have a 4-color deck, or if you have a 5-color deck, throw this in there, because this taps for any mana of any type your lands could produce. So if you have a swamp, it taps for black. If you have a mountain, it also taps for red. If you have the plains as well, now it taps for 3 colors of mana. Now this isn't going to make you any new colors of mana that you don't already have, but just makes your land base so much more consistent. And there's the reason why this is one of the best lands in EDH. It just hasn't gotten a reprint. So these World Championship decks can easily save you 1/3 the price, being only $8. And that's all the cards that I'm going to go over for this list. Tell me what you thought. Are there any better deals out there in Magic? Is there any cards that maybe I haven't heard of already that you can get a lot cheaper version for real cards? Now, personally, I don't really love proxies, because what proxies do is make people just go for higher and higher power level, and I don't want every deck that I play to have Fierce Guardianship. This is just a great way to actually have a cost to it. So if you still want a Grim Monolith, yes, it's going to be $30, but it's not $240, which is completely unreasonable. So I think it just stops people from building the most competitive deck every single time, but at the same time, it lets you play the most powerful cards in Magic the Gathering and real versions of the card, so it makes you feel so much better when you have a real version, and you can just get it for so much cheaper. And that's why I think it's one of the best deals in all of Magic the Gathering, because it's such a great way for new players to experience some of the most powerful and just cool cards of Magic the Gathering. And that's it for me, guys. Have a great rest of your day, and that's it. Patchwork Commander is out.